and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Business Point on Global Television, live in the nation's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Time, channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles showing on your screen. I am Queen Agaba. Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima, in an exclusive interview with newsmen in Davos, Switzerland, asserted the country's readiness to embark on a digital revolution, stating that Nigeria and the African continent in general are the World Economic Forum 2024 to deal with the West on an equal footing because the continent is the richest in the world, adding that we're not a poor nation by any standard. We're not a poor continent either, and we do not possess or come to the West begging. He asserts that we want to deal with the world on mutually beneficial terms because our country is the richest in the world, noting that we are poised to take advantage of the digital revolution and that we're in a unique position, digitally equipped, and we can really take advantage of the digital revolution and occupy our rightful place in the Committee of Nations. Shettima further addressed Nigeria's foreign exchange deficit, promising stability in the financial market in the coming weeks. He acknowledged the need for a consistent policy framework and commitment to global best practices, noting that they are coming up with solutions to address our FX deficit. He says he believes that in the coming weeks and months, they will weather the storm and stabilize the market, most importantly, because they have to create an enabling environment, the rule of law, sanctity of contracts, and their tendencies to flip-flop on policies. He also addressed sudden change in policies is not healthy, he assured that these are issues that are going to be addressed, and they would address as they're willing to adhere to global best practices for Nigeria to thrive. He also addressed security concerns, revealing plans to overhaul the nation's security architecture in the coming weeks and months, further stating that the president is rejigging the security architecture and seeing to it that the issues of security are addressed in the coming weeks and months, further stressing the significance of trust and empathy in rebuilding confidence, stating that the world needs leaders that prioritize humanity's interests. Lastly, saying that the most important thing is to rebuild confidence is trust, and has to be anchored in empathy, noting that the world needs quality leaders that will put the interest of humanity over and above the interest of individual nations or country. My guest on the program today is Comrade Silvanus Ope, who is an analyst and a lawyer. He will be discussing further, some of the conversations at the World Economic Forum. Many thanks for joining me on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
It's such a delight to have you here.
Thank you.
Welcome. The World Economic Forum happens yearly. We see this come to play yearly. I just want to know, is there a way to measure the value that Nigeria gets from attending this yearly events?
Well, the World Economic Forum, as you rightly posited, comes up yearly, but there is no parameter for measuring what we benefit, the value we derive from the program. But as you know, Nigeria is part of a global world, and it always presents an opportunity to reintroduce ourselves, to tell the world that we are ready for business. And if you check Nigeria's business and relationship with the world, what do we benefit from doing business with the world? What are the platforms where our products, our services can be reintroduced to the world? These are the kind of platforms Nigeria needs to bring its products, what we are selling, our creative act. As the Vice President said in that speech in an interview, he said he was dancing to Buga. He also mentioned a tribe called Judah and some of them, that these are the things that are produced by Nigeria and being marketed. But then if you want to measure the values we derive, you have to check what do we derive from our trade with the nation, with the world. If you come to Africa, what do we gain from trading within Africa? If you come to the world, if you check it, you see that Nigeria benefits over 90%, if I'm not mistaken, from trade relationship with Europe. And where do we build these relationships? It's on this platform, platforms such as the World Economic Forum, that we build the relationship, we introduce ourselves. It's a new administration. So you expect the administration will be all about selling its policies. We are trying to bring in investors. How do these investors measure our readiness? It's from listening to us, knowing what we have to offer, and coming together to know how we can, the kind of enabling environment we have that will attract them. So there is no parameter, but it's a very important program that Nigeria needs to attend. If we want to keep our space within the global economy, we have to attend such events to attract investors, sell our products, and tell the world that we are ready for business.
Now, tech globally, tech and artificial intelligence are expected to play a major role in world economics. How prepared is Nigeria?
Yeah, I like this question because the Vice President mentioned it. This generation, this economy of this time, the realities of this moment. You talk of big data, you talk of nano-economics, the readiness of Nigeria. You take a look at what the UN said about readiness of nations. You see Britain, they're hanging in there at a top level, but when it comes to Nigeria, we are not even up to 20% ready for the current realities, the big data, the AI. So the thing is, what is the Vice President and the President, the current administration, doing to boost our chances to compete competitively in the current realities as regards economy? How do we improve that? We talk of the human intelligence. What are the kind of education, the background Nigerian youths have when it comes to education and growing into people whose services will be sought after world over? So in artificial intelligence, if we want to compete, if Nigeria wants to grow higher, and in the current realities, economic realities in the world, we are lagging behind. And the president, the current administration must rise to the occasion to dot the right I's, cross the right T's, to ensure that we are better placed to compete favorably in the world economy as regards the artificial intelligence. We are not ready. Our educational system is fraught with irregularities, is not how much is being even budgeted for education. You see houses of people being renovated, government officials. So these are what we must take cursory look at as a nation to begin to lay a solid foundation for a robust economy for the country and for us to compete competitively in the world. So we need to begin to do things that will improve us, better place us for this nano economy, the current realities of big data, the AI. We are not ready. This requires a lot of tech. It requires a lot of computerized system, which Nigeria doesn't have. So we are not ready, but with the passion, we see this administration pushing the effort of economy. We have seen a lot of policies that are favorable, and we believe that if they are really, really, really passionate about us competing favorably in the world economy, we have to do something about improving and being better placed for these current realities of economy.
Now, the Vice President in his speech said that Nigeria is a country that investors want to partner with, want to invest with. Seeing that, citing some of the insecurities that we have, the challenges that we're currently facing, and seeing that multinationals are exiting the country, to what degree do you agree with this assertion?
I agree with the Vice President. Every serious investor will want to come to Nigeria. Why? We have the variables, the odds are in our favor, we have the number, we have that market. The market we want to come and invest, market, produce, and we have the manpower to support the manufacturing industry, or any kind of industry you are bringing in. We have the manpower to support you. We have the market. What Nigeria needs to make that environment more favorable for investors to want to jump in, we need to improve on our security. No serious investor will want to come into a country where his safety and that of his employees are not guaranteed, where his business can be invaded by bandits and everybody kidnapped and ransom being placed on their heads. But if you look at our gains since the 8 months of Tinubu's administration, the first thing he did was to remove subsidy. He came again. He unified this thing, okay, the exchange rate. These are things that will boost investor confidence and make them want to come. Look at the successes of these policies. Within 8 months, Nigerian stock market is leading in the world. Not in Africa, not in West Africa, but in the world. This shows something. It points to one fact, that the current administration is ready for business and that the world is ready to exploit every opportunity to bring in investors and tap from the good policies and the potentials that this nation holds. Look at what is happening around if you see the minerals being discovered in different places, gold in Zamfara, lithium in Nasarawa, no investor would not want to come in. But we need to do more if we want to translate these potentials into quality services and products that are foreseeable. We must begin to reposition, like the Vice President said, that the President is rejigging the security architecture. These are the kind of things we need. Let's have a safer environment, better policies, and this tax unification, this and that with the Tinubu administration. He has a very good tax team, and they are doing well in the tax unification system, and this will boost investor confidence. It will make it more favorable for investors to come in. So I think he's right, but we need to do more in terms of security. We must begin to nip it in the bud. It is no longer when people will come in and begin to feel unsafe. If that continues, it will scare investors away. We already have robust economic policy from the president. He's churning it out day by day, and we see that it is yielding dividend, like the Nigerian stock market, which is leading the world now. So we need to do more, but he is correct. To a large extent, Nigeria is being a favorable destination for foreign investment.
Okay, knowing that Nigeria is favorable, are you highlighting insecurity as the only challenge that could, hinder investors from, what other challenges?
Insecurity leads, but we have other challenges which are policy-wise. If we, with the tax policy in place, and which they are trying to, work on, if we begin to show integrity as a nation, keeping up to contractual terms with these foreign investors, we will see more investment. It's not just insecurity. We must show integrity as a nation. Corruption plays a role too. Nobody wants to come to a country where no official is trusted. Nobody wants to work in a country where all the people you are employing, the least of them have corruption tendencies. So these are the things we must begin to work on as a nation. And the change begins with us, not only the government. The Nigerian populace who are also going to work in these industries, these investment outlets, must show clear signs that we have that integrity to handle people's businesses without them losing sleep. We must show integrity. We must show that we are capable. Nigeria has a good human capital that can work in anywhere. We are resilient people. The youths are dogged. They are hardworking. But we must also add integrity to this list of qualification that we have as a country and as a people.
And now you mentioned corruption. I was going to talk about, before corruption, I was going to ask, because the Vice President made mention in his speech that, Africa has the highest number of young people. And he says one of the advantages that we have is the fact that we have human resource, as we have young people. Now, how do we begin to mobilize these young people to our advantage, to begin to, yield greater economic output?
Now, one thing about Nigerian youths, I spoke about it in my book, Africa Without Politics, Contemporary Issues. One thing about the youths is the kind of education system we have. With the kind of curriculum that exists in our school, it doesn't prepare us for what the current realities when it comes to the labor force and employment. Okay, take a look at it. If you come to the world, the realities on ground, the labor force, how does someone who went to school, no practical, an engineering student, theory all through. How do you work effectively as a mechanical engineer who just dealt in paper and biro all through, no practical, in a place where they are manufacturing vehicles? So we must begin to rejig our curriculum in institutions, to begin to teach things, AI, all those things that will push us to the realities on ground. And again, if you check the world today, what is obtainable in the workforce? Is there everybody that must go to school and have a degree to be able to work? There are skills that if you are equipped with them, you are better placed than someone with some degrees. And these are the things that are lacking in the Nigerian system. We have a system of education that is flawed. And if the pool of the youth workforce must be the potential must be maximized, we have to work on the kind of training they have, and so that we increase their output. So our training, educational background is fraught with irregularities. We do not have what it takes as a youth to compete favorably in the world. We have the doggedness, we have the intelligence, we have the hard work, but we need the basic trainings that are required to favorably compete. We need the enabling environment. We need the atmosphere that will enable us to hatch this potential. There is a huge potential in the Nigerian youth, but the environment and the atmosphere are not favorable enough for them to be hatched and harnessed.
We've been speaking with Comrade Sylvanus Ope, and he's been talking to us extensively as regards the World Economic Forum. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll discuss further. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us on Business Points, and we've been speaking with Comrade Sylvanus Ope, who is an economist and an analyst. Before the break, you highlighted insecurity and a list of challenges and some of the issues or challenges that could hinder investors from, actively investing in the country. One of them was corruption. Now, I want you to just, delve deep into how this issue of corruption, can affect potential investors.
Okay. Just like I said, corruption is a major factor that stunts the growth of a nation. It eats deep into its fabrics and stunts its growth. It doesn't just stunt its growth within. Even investors, when they hear of the corruption tendencies in the country, they tend to stay away. It's a natural instinct for every serious investor, in fact, every human. Nobody wants to go into a place where there is no trust in business transactions, where there is no integrity in people that work with you. So investors, when they know that coming into a country where there is corruption, the negative effects it will have on their businesses, they will see a natural instinct. So that is how it affects the coming of investors into a country. Corruption is a no-no for anybody. Investors will not want to invest. The country will not grow. Nobody trusts the integrity of business transactions that has been carried out in the country.
Now the point is, how do we go from here, knowing that we have such tag as to corruption? What do we now begin to look into to ensure that, you know, investors, potential investors, and the world at large begin to see us differently
I think it's a policy issue. It's a policy issue. When you come to a country where corrupt persons are so eulogized, so they are like a god, steal any amount of money, go to your village, they'll throw a party for you, they'll do a welcome party, your churches will crown you. We must begin to honor hard work as a people and as a nation. The day we start honoring hard work, honesty and integrity, we will begin to shift away from these corruption tendencies. There must be a reorientation of the people as regards corruption. The political culture must begin to rebrand on hard work, integrity and honesty. Until we achieve this feat, where a society publicly frowns at a corrupt person, at someone whose source of income are questionable. You see a young man buy Mercedes-Benz, and the father and mother, they wear good clothes, they go to the church, they begin to act as if they are gods in the villages. These little tendencies support corruption. And as a nation, the reorientation, and we must begin to adapt to a different political culture that shies away from corruption. The African society does not abhor stealing. Corruption is the highest level of stealing. But in Nigeria, a corrupt person is the king of the society. A corrupt person has a lot of resources to run election and win. We must begin. The people has more role to play. When a politician wants to contest election, and is only on the basis of how much is sharing that makes him to win, what makes you think he's not going back to amass more wealth through corrupt tendencies to recoup? So our culture must begin to differ from the current culture we have now. A reorientation is urgently advised if we must shy away from this tag and tell the whole world that we are ready for business, the current realities of the 21st century.
Now we see that, just to tilt a bit, but still on the issue, we see that the Vice President has emphasized that Nigeria is a country that investors are willing to invest in. And just last week, while he was still in Davos, we hear that some multinationals are beginning to sell their shares and all that. Is this is this an advantage for some local businesses to begin to step into limelight and take up this position?
Now, in the past 2 to 3 years, some of us, in the past 5 to 3 years, in the past 3 to 5 years, some of us have been consistent in preaching patronizing Nigerian-made products. Buy Nigeria to grow Nigeria. So I don't see it as something that will make me to lose sleep that foreign investors are leaving. A Nigerian has just built, and it has become functional, the largest single train refinery in the world. Not in Nigeria, not in Africa, in the world. So the capacity inbuilt in Nigerians is enough that we should take over these business opportunities that they are leaving behind and begin to grow our GDP and our economy. This is what we can do. And the only thing we need is a little government support. Let them identify those people with the capacity, with the human intelligence to carry out activities, business activities in these areas, and begin to support them. If we do this consistently for the next 4 years, we see that Nigerian-made goods will take over all the industries. And we'll begin to, our Naira will begin to improve. This depreciation, okay, these people come into the country. Most of their business transactions in dollars. They change them to the dollar, they move to their country. It stresses the Naira. And you see that the Naira begins to shrink. So it's a plus for our economy if we take adequate advantage of it. If we take advantage of this, the lacuna, the gap they are leaving behind, if we fill it in with patriotic businesses, that will boost our GDP, that will boost our output. You see that it will improve it will improve job employment. The unemployment rate keeps skyrocketing by the day because these foreign businesses, most of them bring in their people from their place to work here. But if we have Nigerians running these businesses and Nigerians employed in these fields, we will see that it will not just grow our economy, it will relieve stress on the naira, it will improve our employment rate. Nigerians will get employed. So it's a plus if we make adequate use, take advantage of it, and make adequate use of the.
Now, what's the way forward? How do we take advantage of this vacancy?
Now, Nigerians have, a lot of Nigerians have the capacity to thrive in these businesses. What do they lack? That is where the government comes in. What policies can we put in place to encourage you to fill in this gap? If we keep patronizing these foreign investments without building our local investors to also take advantage of this lacuna moments like this, we would have failed as a nation. You see a state government wanting to carry out road construction and other things, they look for foreigners. Every small thing, they look for foreign companies. We do not have confidence in our own people. We need to the local business people must begin to build confidence in their businesses. They have the capacity. Government must reach out to them to know where it can help. Policy-wise, financial support, enabling environment, tax relief, these are things that will begin to show them to attract local investment. Look at Dangote, he was hugely supported. And today we have the largest single train refinery in the world, which has just started operation. Imagine if other businesses are encouraged in this manner to also build magnificent industries where thousands of youth will be employed, we will begin to see a different Nigeria. We have all it takes. We have the capacity. Nigeria is not poor, like the Vice President said. We are one of the richest nations in the world, but marred by bad leadership. So it is the policy and good leadership that will begin to propel this nation to greatness. What does the president have to offer? We have seen for the first time in the history of Nigeria, a president coming with a CV of economic reformation in Lagos, a CV of building the internal generated revenue to billions. So these are the things that we want him to replicate in the nation, and we know he has the capacity to do that. So we encourage the current administration to begin to woo local investors so that they fill in the gap of these foreign investors who are milking the nation dry.
Many thanks, Mr. Silvanus.
Thank you so much.
We'll be speaking with Comrade Silvanus Okwe. He's a lawyer and an analyst. Many thanks for joining us on the program. It's such a pleasure having you. And now we move over to business news just after this short break. Please stay with us. On the business desk, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has said it will spend 8.3 billion naira on transportation and travels in 2024. The agency disclosed this in the government-owned enterprises budget proposal submitted to President Bola Tinubu recently. The regulator proposed to spend 8,342,547,767 naira from the proposed expenditure on travels and transport. The document also stated that NCAA budgeted 715,467,778 naira for local travels and others, and plans to pay 1,935,000,000 naira as a contribution to international organizations. Other expenditures contained in the proposed budget include the purchase of vehicles worth 3 billion naira, purchase of furniture and office fittings, construction of office building, and provision of electricity. The agency also said it will spend 1 billion naira on airport maintenance of physical assets and facilities. The Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, according to its 2024 budget, will spend a total sum of 6.2 billion naira on the purchase of motorcycles and tricycles as empowerment programs for Nigerian youth and women. This is despite a full or partial ban by 12 state governments and the Federal Capital Territory on the operations of motorcycles. The governors in different reports said the embargo was part of measures to curb rising insecurity. The states include Cross Rivers, Kaduna, Enugu, Akwa Ibom, Kano, Rivers, Abia, Anambra, Adamawa, Borno, Kwara, and Zamfara State. The agency, saddled with the responsibility of assisting small and medium-scale enterprises to overcome poor infrastructure in the management of business operations and accessing financial services, amongst other challenges, earmarked the substantial amount for the empowerment. Now, the stock market records. The momentum in the Nigerian Exchange Limited, NGX, moved up to a new height for the third consecutive week this year, with investors gaining an unprecedented 6.293 trillion naira at the close of trading over the weekend, the highest in the history of the Nigerian stock market. This comes as Nigeria's currency naira sank deeper in the parallel markets during the weekend, trading at 1,270 naira to a dollar, the weakest in history. Meanwhile, the NGX All-Share Index, ASI, a major stock market indicator, surpassed the 90,000 point mark, driven by robust investors' interest in diverse stocks across the industrial, insurance, oil and gas, and consumer goods sector, to close on Friday at 94,338.12 points from 80,042.96 points the previous week. Analysis of the market last week showed that the NGX market capitalization, which represents the total value of stocks in the exchange, soared to 51.735 trillion naira from 45.442 trillion naira the previous week. Consequently, the year-to-year return surged to 26.4%. The British Council in Nigeria has again increased the fee for the English language testing system examinations by 29%, according to a notice published on the Council's website. Applicants will now pay the sum of 139,000 for the computer academic and general training models from February 1st, 2024. The examination is widely accepted globally by non-native English speakers as evidence of their language proficiency. The Council blamed the change in fee on the hike in the cost of conducting the examination. The change in price is associated with the increased cost of the delivery of exams. This will enable them to continue to offer a wide range of services and comprehensive support to enable them achieve goals. Now, for more stories in business, let's now turn to Kikelomo Okiri.
Director and the Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, says an increase in the volume and value of exportable goods and services and the repatriation of export proceeds will enhance foreign exchange inflow into the country, as well as stabilize the value of Naira. The NEPC boss, however, acknowledged a decline in monetary terms of Nigerians' exports from 4.8 billion naira in 2022 to 4.5 billion naira in 2023. Ayeni listed the factors responsible for the decline to include political instability in many exportable countries, rejection of some Nigerian products, and exchange rate, among others. She therefore expressed the Council's commitment to tackle most of these challenges to ensure growth of the sector in shortest possible time.
Commodities in terms of total exported products were urea, fertilizer, which accounted for 20.10%, while cocoa beans came second at 13.19%. Sesame seed took the top position at 9.03%. There are quite a number of other exportable products that contributed significantly to huge volume of our export in 2023.
Considering the major challenges facing exporters is the issue of export reject, NEPC boss says the council is collaborating with relevant authorities to create awareness, build capacity in the area of good agricultural practice, labeling and packaging, and ensuring adherence to quality and standard of export in the global market. She said on the products exported, the NEPC boss says 273 different products were reported to have been exported in the period under review, ranging from manufactured, semi-processed, solid mineral to agricultural commodities. She says this figure reflected a notable increase of approximately 28.04% compared to the preceding year.
However, notably Brazil, China, and Japan emerged as the top 3 importing countries respectively for non-oil export products exported from Nigeria. 13 member countries of ECOWAS, excluding Cape Verde, actively engaged in the importation of Nigerian products throughout the year 2023. 1,694,000 metric tons, amounting to $343.9 million US dollars, accounted for 7.6% of the total export value. Interestingly, only Ghana made it to the top 20 global importers from Nigeria, occupying the 18th position on the export log.
She further rules out that Nigerian non-oil penetrates markets across 124 countries in America, Asia, Europe, among others. 13 member countries of ECOWAS actively imported Nigerian products, with 1,145 exporting companies actively exporting Nigerian products in the year 2023. According to NEPC boss, this figure can be improved with adequate funding, capacity building, and mentorship.
However, I wish to use this medium to implore financial institutions to take advantage of the opportunities in the non-oil export sector by supporting exporters to enhance their capacity to scale up production and access international markets, especially now that we have the African Continental Free Trade Zone, AfTA, which is the single largest economic bloc in the continent. This support is critical in increasing the basket of exportable non-oil exports, stimulating value addition, and thereby increasing our foreign exchange earnings.
She further reiterated the commitment of the Council to redouble its efforts towards repositioning the sector for sustainable and inclusive economic growth. Kikelomo Okere, Global Television News.
And with that, we wrap the segment for Business Points today. Many thanks for staying with us on the program. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. And we're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms. Many thanks for joining us. I'm Queen Agaba. See you again.